Welcome back. This is Mrs. DeForce, and in this video we're going to look at solid waste management as part of the series on human impact on the environment. I'm sure by now you've heard of the reduce, reuse, recycle strategy. In this process we're going to look at it in more depth. We're going to look at solid waste in terms of preventing it, reusing, recycling, recovering, and disposal of solid waste. Reducing the quantity and quality of waste at the source. Preventing waste can rely on 8 main factors. Products should not have any defects. People should prevent overproduction of certain materials. The waiting time between production and delivery should not be too long. Any unused materials should be reduced in the amount. Transportation methods must be carefully selected, especially with fresh vegetables, etc. Inventory should be kept on how much is actually needed to sell rather than over buying whatever product you need, especially in restaurants. Limit the amount of motion a product has to go through, because that can also cause some damage. And then make sure that there isn't extra reasons to want to get rid of this product. Reuse by putting products and materials back into use before it becomes waste. Upcycling is the process of turning waste materials or useless materials or something that is just unwanted into a new product or a new material that can be perceived to be of a greater quality, such as artistic value or even environmental value. To recycle is to use again or to reuse waste material by converting it into something new. An example of recycling is when you return bottles which are then processed into new glass bottles. Recycling is more environmentally friendly because it can save our systems on mining of raw materials, and it can also reduce our landfilling. Waste collection is a part of the process of waste management. It's the transfer of solid waste from the point where it was used and disposal to the point of treatment or landfill. There are 4 main industries that can produce the waste we have to collect. Household waste, also known as domestic waste or residential waste, is disposable materials generated by households. This can include food scraps, paper, bottles, or materials that can be recycled or composted, as well as materials that are hazardous and that cannot be recycled or composted. Industrial waste can include materials such as cafeteria, garbage, dirt, gravel, masonry, concrete, scrap metals, trash, oil, solvents, chemicals, weed grass, trees, wood and scrap lumber, and anything similar to this. Medical waste is any waste that is generated as a byproduct of healthcare work. The 4 major kinds of waste or medical waste that can be produced includes general, infectious, hazardous, and radioactive. The treatment and disposal of radioactive waste will be discussed in a separate video. Agricultural waste is defined as any waste produced due to agricultural activities. This can include manure, oil, silage, plastics, fertilizer, pesticides, herbicides, waste from farms, poultry houses, slaughterhouses, veterinary medicines, or horticultural materials. Waste collecting bins is either transported to a transfer station or a processing plant. Where a waste collection service operates in an area, residents must be made aware of the day of the week and the time that their waste is to be collected. Municipalities must educate the people on how to participate effectively in this collection system. When choosing the most suitable vehicle, we need to take into consideration the terrain and the road access conditions, the waste density that has been generated, for example, what is wet waste and what is dry waste. The type of waste, obviously, some might be abrasive and corrosive. The service frequency and the waste generation rates, how often is waste generated, as well as the haul distance to the landfill or to the transfer station, and then the crew size for loading and unloading. Waste classification starts by separating it into solid versus liquid waste. The solid waste can either be biodegradable or non-biodegradable. The biodegradable solid waste can either be compostable or combustible. The non-biodegradable solid waste is either recyclable or non-recyclable. Going into the liquid waste, you get your organic liquids versus your inorganic liquids. And both of them can either be toxic or non-toxic. Recovery can take place because modern technology produces energy and can reduce the use of a landfill site. One method of recovery is composting, where biodegradable waste is composted. This can include food waste, animal waste, or crop residue. They provide a carbon sink, capturing the carbon dioxide in the materials for long-term storage. Carbon storage will increase the yield of the soil health in the process. This also means that you don't have to use extra chemical fertilizers on the fields, and it leads to a limited use of fossil fuels. The only downside is there is still some greenhouse gas emissions. Many materials can be recycled, for example, batteries. Battery recycling starts with chemistry. Collection centers will place lead acid, nickel-cadmium, nickel metal hydride, and lithium-ion batteries into their designated drums or boxes. Plastic recycling takes place by the number. Literally, the number that is stamped inside the bottle indicates whether it can or cannot be recycled. There are a variety of methods to dispose of solid waste, including open burning, dumping into the ocean, sanitary landfills, incineration, composting, plowing it back into fields, hog feeding, grinding and discharging it into sewers, trying to salvage some of it, and then there's also fermentation and biological digestion. A landfill site is an area of land that is used to dump rubbish, either directly on the ground, which is called land raising, or filling an unwanted hole in the ground, which is called land filling. Traditionally, a landfill is a site where disposable materials are only stored. In the past, it went unmonitored, and this led to breeding of contamination, and it attracted quite a few disease-carrying pests. Today, however, these landfills are regulated, and waste management employees go through several steps to safely store the waste. Levels of environmental protection may include the spraying of water to control dust and adding screens to trap litter. Incineration is a waste treatment process that involves the combustion of organic substances contained in waste materials. Incineration and other high-temperature waste treatment systems are described as thermal treatments. The incineration of waste materials converts it into ash, flue gas, and heat. Pyrolysis is a thermochemical treatment which can be applied to any carbon-based product. In the treatment, material is exposed to extremely high temperatures in the absence of oxygen, where it then goes through chemical and physical separation into different molecules. So, consumption leads to the production of waste, and the production of waste leads to pollution. Pollution can lead to a loss of biodiversity, and this can lead to a loss in our ecosystems. Please like, share, subscribe, learn more on how we can save our planet.